Yes, a big hello and welcome to the June edition of That Saints podcast. I'm Ste Beech and I'll be standing in for Graham Cunliffe, who, he's away on holiday, would you believe, which we'll probably chip in and talk about a little bit later on. But as always with me is the ever-present Ste Orford, Ady O'Sullivan, and making up our awesome foursome is Paul Rigby. This month has been a bit of a rollercoaster month for Saints, and we're here to break it all down for you. We've seen some incredible victories, a crushing win against Cass, a dominant display over Leeds, rounded off with a hard-fought battle against the Dragons. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. We'll be diving deep into the return of AGNATIUS Paasi, the exciting breakthrough of young prop Noah Stevens, and of course the ever-present injury crisis plaguing the team. We'll also be taking a look at the upcoming schedule with crucial away games against London and Salford before the Saints return home to face Cass once again. And let's not forget the fantastic news that the ladies are heading off to Wembley for the Challenge Cup final match against Leeds Rhinos, who I'm sure will be looking for revenge and certainly will have that on the mind. So buckle up, Saints fans, because we've got a lot to unpack on this month's Saints podcast. And I've got to say a big hello, of course, to everybody. Steve, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Evening. Very well, thank you.
And we've got Paul here once again. He's going to a bit of a veteran now, aren't you, mate?
A couple of sessions in now, isn't it? So, half the season.
Your kid will be kicking himself, I know that. And Ady?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm thinking Paul might be doing a fake HIA so we can have a minute, you know.
I believe so. But we've got to get the first things out of the way. Graham, apparently, from the text, said he's on holiday for a month.
Just a short one this time.
He's not even a teacher. How does he get away with that? I'm sure he will be listening, but so enjoy yourself. Don't come back with too much of a sunburn.
I bet he's outrun, Beach.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think he's got to be, yeah.
I bet there'll be a Netflix series on about 3 months' time. So let's kick off with the first game from last month, which was Castleford Tigers 4, St Helens 60. And it was some games are made by a red card and some games are ruined by one. This was both. Tommy Makinson's highly contentious red card early in the first half gave underdogs Castleford a most welcome leg up, albeit one they failed to decisively take. Then Liam Horn's less contentious red card early in the second half was fully taken advantage of by St Helens, who went on an absolute rout. 8 tries in half an hour, 3 of them for Wonga Blake. And Craig Lingard said, if you need to see how to manage a game against 12 men, watch Saints in the second half. They did just the same set in the second half consistently, and they ruined us. They schooled us in that second half. The closing stages proved the perfect time to introduce Noah Stevens for his Saints debut, a soft landing in Super League for the highly rated 19-year-old forward. When he got on the field, I asked him to do 2 things well and said, make his tackles and run the ball. I thought he did both very, very well. The game star was Jack Welsby, who was a class apart, scoring 2 tries and setting in motion a host of others with his smart running game, while Matty Lees produced an immense 80-minute shift. The game breaker was Castleford. Didn't look like winning even before Liam Horn's dismissal, but they certainly weren't going to do it after that. Tries from Blake, 3, Dodd, 2 from Bell, 2 from Welsby, 1 from Percival, 1 from Lomax and 1 from Bataltia, with the 8 goals, and Percival sealed the deal for Saints. Steve, your thoughts on that game?
Well, we seem to have found our attack in that game, don't we? Although it was a bit of a slow burn, we're becoming a bit of a second half team. I think they scored at half time, it was about 8-4, I think it was. Scored 52 points in half a game at Super League level. That is unheard of. It's ridiculous. The other thing, obviously, big thing about that game was the red cards. The Makinson one, I mean, and it's going to sound biased, whatever, but it baffles me still how that is a red card. It wasn't late. There was no contact with the head. He was trying to wrap the arm. He hit him hard, all right. It must have felt it, but it's not a red card for me. Never in a million years. Whereas the Horn one, I thought he did put him in a dangerous position and can't really have too many complaints.
Yeah, Ady?
I think that second half, as Steve said, ridiculous to score that many points in it, and it was great to see the style that they did it in as well. It was just, I don't want to say it was a free for all, but it was free flowing, and I think, as what we've all been saying recently, to see that, and we've said that they've obviously got the ability in there. I know Paul especially has said for a while now that the players are there to do that. It's just when they're let loose to do it.
Yeah.
And again, you've got to question the opposition, I suppose, and the standard of the opposition. And we are quite good at battering the life out of teams that we should be battering the life out of. But yet it was sensational. It was great to watch. It was fun to watch. The red card, I can't really say any more than what Steve said there. I agree with everything he said.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, I thought Castleford were trying to make a decent fist of it. I know we was a man down early, but they still made a decent fist of it, and were making it difficult. But like you're saying, second half cut loose, and it was great to watch. Really, really great to watch.
Yeah.
Filled with hope after that.
Paul, obviously Craig Lingard said, obviously the way Saints played that second half, and do you know what, before I even read that, I thought exactly the same. They were playing exactly the same move and exactly the same move, and I'm thinking, how's this coming off every single time, more or less? Why aren't they switched on and defending it a bit better? Whether they couldn't because Saints were on such a roll. Your thoughts, mate?
Like Ady just said then, straight away we hit the ground running, didn't we, second half? I know it took the two players to get sent off, but before that we started throwing the ball around, and again, Saints of old, you throw the ball about, not many teams will touch us, and I don't care what opposition you play, if we play like that, even the top sides will struggle to handle us. But a lot of the time we've said before, we do change our tactics against, depending on what teams we play, but we showed against Cass how good we're next side we are, and we still got exactly the same players, and we did show glimpses in the previous games as well, but that was, for me, the second half of that game was a all-round superb performance from most teams. And talking about Blake scoring 3 tries, I thought the last few games he's showed real size and stamina to kind of like, he's a big man, he takes a lot of players to get him down, doesn't he? When he gets a full head of, still not seen him full head of steam over yet, make a break or anything, but he takes some stopping, so he's slowly getting into his stride.
Yeah, because we look at the likes of Mark Percival driving it in, and there's no size to him, and we say, you know what, you shouldn't be doing that. Right. But Blake's got a bit more bulk about him, so he can do that to a certain degree, don't you think?
We excuse me, we said a number of times this season, we said it again at the last match at home, that if you could put Percy's or Tommy Makinson's spirit into that body, then you've got a remarkable player. Because the stature of him, I mean, he's a huge man, but he just, if you could put that Tommy, Percy, James Bell's another one, that attitude and that determination, that aggression, like Paul said, he's got the size and the physicality to be an absolute beast.
Steve, obviously Noah Stevens made his debut in this. I must admit, I'd never seen him before, and I know, ironically, there were a few things in this game. There was obviously the way it was set up team-wise, and obviously Stevens coming in. If I remember correctly, in our last podcast, we mentioned the majority of those things that came to pass. So I've locked the door, so Mr. Wellens can't get into you what we're saying this week. But Noah Stevens, what do you think, Steve?
He's done really well, hasn't he? He's, I mean, was he like 19 years old? You don't get many 19-year-olds, you know, who are like dominant in the front row. So he's progressing, let's say. Yeah. I thought I've been really impressed with what I've seen so far. So hopefully he continues, you know, that kind of progression. He made a break, I think it was the Catalan game, all these games on Friday. He must have gone 50, 60 yards before anyone tackled him, but he didn't quite have that awareness, I didn't think, to get to put somebody in for the try. But those things will develop over time, and he's more experience he gets.
Do you know what was great though, is that in that same match he also had the break, and he did have the awareness, and he did have the smarts, but James Bell dropped it. Otherwise, James Bell was gone. And I mean, we can wax lyrical about Noah Stevens with it, Ruskin at the home of Pilks Rex, and he is indeed a Pilks Rex product.
That's correct, yeah.
But he's a very exciting prospect, like.
Oh, he is. I mean, I was chuffed when George Delaney came through, and he's made amazing progress, but I think this kid looks a different prospect altogether. I think he's just, I think Delaney came through and was great, and he's hard as nails, and we'll come to why that might be to his detriment in a bit when we talk about another game. But Noah Stevens has got something. First of all, size.
I was going to say he's got a bit more size.
Yeah.
With Delaney's
size.
For me, Delaney's made that impact. He's come on, but he's kind of like stuck at the minute. It's like which direction he goes.
Yeah.
He needs to kick on, but we've seen it with Matty Leeds. When Matty Leeds come through, if anything, Delaney needs a bit more size. Matty Leeds needed a bit more size. Matty Leeds is still producing the goods, but
he's bigger now.
Sometimes he gets put on his back.
If you remember rightly, I totally agree with what you're saying there, Paul. There was Matty Leeds and Ashworth both came at the same time, and we expected the same from them both. And Matty Leeds, like you said, moved on, etc., and has done that. Where Ashworth just came to a grounding halt, and to a certain degree.
And, do you know what? While you mentioned Matty Leeds there, what I don't think he ever gets enough credit for is that shocking injury that he had. Didn't he burst an intestine or something?
Yeah, he did against Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was. And when he came back, he'd lost about 1.5 stone of muscle.
Yeah.
And I think he's building it up. But what we have got with George and Matty is 2 80-minute prop forwards.
Yeah, very much so.
Which is priceless. But I like I said, I think Noah Stevens, he just seems to have more of the physique. He's more like an Alex Walmsley physique-wise, isn't he? I mean, when you look at his head, my God, he's got an head that'd knock a church down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My only worry is that with the correct injury situation being as it is, are we going to end up expecting too much from him now in this period? Which may, you sink us for him, don't you? So
yeah.
I think I know I'm slightly going off track here, but a trio of Matautia, Sirinen, and who's going to go throw it? And Matty Lees. Those 3 forwards in the last 3, 4, 5 matches, Matautia all season, but especially the last 3, 4 matches, those 3 have been unbelievable. Yeah. Absolutely. Sione Matautia, if the Man of Steel is supposed to be anything like its name suggests, and if the voting system wasn't so silly, Sione Matautia is the absolute man of steel so far this season. Incredible. Because
you get the same numbers out of him every single week, don't you?
And he's played 3 different positions equally as well. I mean, to play from a centre, second row and prop is ridiculous. And to play each position and be up there for the shout of the man of the match. But going back to your Noah Stevens thing, though, buzzing my head off with him. And he's come at just the right time, just when we need him, and just chuffed to bits for the lad and for us as a club.
Yeah. The only downside or concern I have, not about Stevens, about Delaney, is when he's driving it in, he's turning his shoulder. And that is what's getting me worried, because there's going to come a time where he's going to hit somebody with that shoulder, and he's going to get, much like the guy who was at Warrington. So it's not as pronounced as that.
Akawala.
Yeah. But as soon as that happens, then it will be targeted, in the sense that any slight thing like that, they'll have an eye on him.
Also, if someone comes in, he's turning his back, someone takes his ribs out. He's only a big lad from an opposition player to take him a big shot into the ribs, and his ribs are gone as well. He has kind of last 2 weeks brought that into his game, hasn't he, where he spins. If he's looking to pass, I'd be like, oh, happy days, but he's not. He's just literally, looks like he's protecting himself.
Do you know what it reminds me of? The Big Al used to do that, didn't he? Big Al used to back into the tackles, and the other thing is if you do that, you're leaving yourself really open to a crusher. And if you do get a crusher, then in my view, you're partly responsible for that, because you've put yourself in that position.
If you're doing that sort of thing that you're on about, I agree. You've got to take your accountability yourself as well, haven't you?
Yeah, but I think with Delaney there, it's a great shout, that his aggression and the determination he runs it in.
You can't knock that. You can't knock it.
It's brilliant.
It's just how he kicks on now, because, like you said, the size situation, and Noah Stevens coming through, and you see Stevens has probably got the size factor on Delaney. Will Stevens then kick on, and kind of his size will then make a difference? But if anything, now Paasi's back. Before, I know Paasi's only played like 1 game, but his size is massive, because we're very lightweight, aren't we? Even though we've got players who run 100 mile an hour, run at a brick wall, we are still missing size.
How wonderful was it to see Iggy come back and have a couple of them runs where he goes into contact and he's still going 10 yards after with 3 of them on his back.
We'll talk about that in bit more depth a bit later on. So that's That's Cass, and a great victory there, which led us on to obviously getting Leeds Rhinos back to the totally wicked stadium, and it was 5 top line pack men down, and with Joe actually withdrawn after 6 minutes following an ankle injury and losing skipper Johnny Lomax with a suspected broken hand. Saints still dominated the physical battle, running rampant up the middle, while the Rhinos would have given everything for a George Delaney, who came off the bench to cover for Batchelor, played the rest of the game and tore the Leeds forwards to shreds. The 20-year-old, whose 137 metres was only just better by Mark Percival, has been managed with consideration by Saints coach Paul Wellens. Game star, coming off the bench early and playing 74 minutes. Leeds couldn't handle him. His barnstorming runs, who the coach had acknowledged he was outstanding. The game breaker, 3 tries in 9 minutes, either side of half-time, gave Saints the supremacy they were never going to lose. St Helens tries were 2 for Wellesby, Makinson, Sirenham, Percival, Clark, Mbai, Matautia, and 5 goals from Percival, with Roberts and Hanley scoring and Martin converting for Leeds. To be fair, again, Steve, like you were saying, our first half again was, you know, it was close. You thought, oh God, you know, Leeds gonna pull one on us here again. But then it was like the first 2 matches in the season, Saints just like slipped up under the gear and went away.
Yes, it's the 3rd time we played Leeds, as you mentioned there, and it's happened in the other 2 games where it's been tight in the first half, then we've pulled away. But it's a similar pattern, as we said before, back to the Castleford game, where that was tight at half time, then we pulled away. I don't know if there's some extra emphasis that's been placed on fitness that other teams are kind of falling behind us in that regard and not managing to keep up with us. But that shouldn't happen. But we seem to be outstaying other teams at the moment. But I do think Leeds, much like Castleford, are in a bit of a sorry state at the moment. I mean, that was a poor performance from them to ship in 28 points in the second half. On the Batchelor injury, I do think that was a little bit naughty from Lewis Roberts. It was a bit of a hip drop. I don't think he got banned for, did he?
He got a
fine. Yeah, which I thought that was a strange call.
What was it, a low grade B or whatever they call it?
Yeah. I mean, the match review panel in there's the logic evades most of us most weeks, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
But yeah, again, another solid second half performance. So we're finding ways now to sort of pile on points, whereas before these last 2 or 3 weeks, other than the whole game, we hadn't really been doing that. We're winning games with just with our defence, but now we seem to be able to run a few points in. Yeah,
Paul obviously lost both Batchelor and Lomax early on in that game, and still came out big winners. And it was good those that were coming off the bench, and they could jockey things around and slot things in for players to play other positions. And like we were saying before about Matautia, I mean, he's a guy who's you know, this just proves what a guy to have in your team, and it gives the same amount of percentage for wherever you want him to play.
Yeah, well, the last few months I'll give them by a bit of stick, but to be fair, I texted Ady after the game and said, when he come on, this sounds awful, when I felt like when Johnny Lomax went off, I felt like we played a lot better. I thought we threw the ball about, and I was wondering where it'd been before when Lomax was on. But the past month, the way someone's probably listened to the podcast, what we've been talking about the last few months, but the last 3 games, really.
You three think I'm joking, don't you?
Well, Wellens isn't the bar. But yeah, I think the way you've said we try and break teams down first half, and in the second half we try and run away with the game. We've done that a lot of the time with Christian Wolf, but a lot of the teams were nowhere near the standard of us, where a lot of teams have caught us up, but we're trying to go back to that now, I feel. And apart from the likes of the Wigan, Warrington, maybe Catalan, it's working against a lot of teams now, so it's paying off. But yeah, back to Lomax going off and Batchelor, the lads who come on and replaced him, I thought we just played open rugby again and absolutely battered Leeds. There was no one, and come on, give us a bit of direction and a bit of different leadership kind of thing, and then it frees up Wellesby. And with no Lomax, I felt like, I know it's only been a game and a half, but we've had no Lomax. Wellesby then gets the ball in his hand more, and then Wellesby, it frees up Wellesby. So he comes into the game, and whenever he's got the ball in hand, you're expecting something to happen. And against Leeds, on the back end of that, it did off Mbai, and even Dodd's so hit and miss at the minute, but felt like him having somebody else outside him was a bit different and a bit more leadership. So no, I was impressed.
Yeah, Ady?
I've written a couple of names down while Paul was speaking there, and virtually mirrored it. I think when Johnny went off, it brings Moses on, but it frees Daz Clark up so much as well. Daz Clark is a wonderful player.
Yeah.
He is a top, and he's got a bit of shithouse about him as well. Do you know what I mean? He's got a little bit. He's got a little bit of grub about him, and then with Wellesby, I mean, I say it pretty much every match. We should give him his own ball. He's a remarkable player, Jack Wellesby. I'm loving Moses. I've been a big fan of Moses. I just think he's a very, very classy player. But another one who I think has been priceless in the last 5 or 6 games, and maybe because touching wood, he's having a run of fitness, is Percy. When Mark Percival's fit and he's doing his thing and he's just so unassuming with it, but what a massive player. And on his goal kicking, have you noticed his new style?
Yeah.
It's literally 1 step, 2 steps back.
It looks like he's been working hard on that.
Doesn't it?
It's getting better, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no sort of energy to it as such. It's
very lucid. It's very lucid. He takes 1 step back, and he's also getting some curves. He's also getting a little bit of draw on, a little bit of pull on it, and it's coming from one side to the other. But as Paul was saying there, when Johnny went off, and I love seeing Moses and Daz Clark on the pitch at the same time. I mean, when you go back to, was it the Cup game when Moses played at...
Went in from Dummy afternoon as well.
Leeds in the Cup.
Yeah, was it Leeds in the Cup? When
went to half-back.
And I think those two, with Batch going off, I mean, and I've not hidden my thoughts on this. I'm a massive Joe Batchelor fan, but I don't think he's been the same player since he had that injury. He's never looked fit. He's always looked like he's carrying something, and...
He's always got a penalty in him as well, hasn't he?
I honestly don't think since that bad injury he had, I don't think he's deserved his place in the team when you've got others doing what they've been doing. And I think, again, he wasn't missed, but then I wouldn't have been picking him anyway. But the Jack Wellesby, Daz Clark, Moses and Bai thing, it's amazing how that, and Dodd to a degree, it's amazing how that seems to have triggered by taking Lomax out of the equation, and that as one of Johnny Lomax's biggest cheerleaders, that is an unbelievable thing for me to say, but it is what it is, as they say. You know?
Well, that could give Wellens a bit of confidence, really, couldn't it? And obviously with him being injured now, Lomax being injured, is going to be out for a few weeks. At least it gives him the confidence. He's got somebody to go in there and still be, you know, do a job and do a job, you know, quite well actually.
Yeah, and I think. I know you can't really read much into it in today's game, but I think having Wellesby leading the team out as well. Johnny Lomax is like a professor. He's like a scientist when you listen to him about rugby league. Jack Wellesby's like a captain to me, and that, you know, he's just like that's what. And like I said, love Johnny to bits, but I want to see more of the Moses, Jack, and Daz Clark doing the thing. Do you know what's disappointing me in all this great run that we've been talking about? And if he could pick up to what he was, I think the last 4 or 5 games, I think James Bell has been way off. I don't know. He seems to have changed now. Again, we've got a coach sat at the table, or who's coached at the tables. I don't know what has changed with James Bell's game. It's just that he doesn't seem to be that James Bell that was there at the start of this season and all last season.
Could it just be expectations? Because he has improved that much, and we've all been saying that, like, he's one of our most underrated players, who's most improved, if you like. Now there's responsibility on him because Knowles isn't there. Are we expecting more and maybe not quite seeing it?
Maybe opposition. That's. I mean, we'll come to it in a little bit, but that's what. Well, we'll come to it in a bit, but maybe the opposition are expecting it from him as well. But I thought the Noah Stevens break, which we'll come to, was typical of what I'm thinking. But for the match we're talking about, I thought those 3 were superb. I thought it was great. I know Leeds were poor, but there's been times in the recent past where we'd have played that Leeds team and have finished 18-12. But we're throwing some points.
Well, the 2 games at the start of the season against Leeds didn't finish. They weren't big scores.
They were similar, weren't
One was about 20-6, and one was at like
18-12 maybe.
Something like that. It was a low scoring game. Yeah, it wasn't a 40-10 job, was it?
Is the situation with Bell on again where he's playing and what he's been told, because if he plays it loose, he's kind of got a free role. Now you've got Moses and Clark playing a lot of the game together. He's then going back in the second row where his game plan's completely different to what he is at 13. So if he's going from one game plan to another in the space of 20 minutes and then going back to, you're probably not seeing the best. And like you said with the opposition, if they're onto his game plan of passing and they're just stopping him in his tracks straight away, he's not the biggest of players, is he? That's why you expect him to use his hands and footwork. But it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? Because it depends what he's being coached and what position he's playing in.
Yeah, and maybe the fact that Moses, Daz Clark and Welsby have stepped up so much. When you've not got them stepping up, then James Bell's the one that you notice. But because the rest have upped their game significantly.
Yeah. But we picked on it a couple of weeks ago about saying, we're not saying Johnny Lomax has been playing badly, but his game plan's completely changed, because last year and the year before, he's passing the cutout, he's on the receiving end and finishing off them tries with the miss-out ball, isn't he?
Yeah.
But this year he seems to be doing a lot more defensive rather than running the ball and attacking wise. So again, is that what they're being taught? You don't know what they're being taught in training, do you?
But certainly, from a Leeds perspective, I must admit, I think I said a couple of months back that I thought if Leeds didn't turn us over, that Rowan Smith will be on his way, and I'm sure it's going to be very close.
I think it's only a matter of time now.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's still there. Because they've got good players. They've got some really good players. They should not be 30 points behind a team like Saints. It was not, let's be honest, it's not the best Saints team you've ever seen, is it?
No,
so he shouldn't be. They shouldn't be that far behind the top sides.
Any of you catch the Blake Austin thing and what he was saying about Rowan Smith?
With Jammer? I saw bits of it, never saw it all.
He's ripped him to pieces. He said he's just weird. He's just odd. The things he wants them to do, the things he doesn't doing in training, the way he wants them to play. He said it's the most ridiculous thing he's ever come across. He slaughtered him.
It shows that as Leeds play anyway, because one week they're fantastic and then the next month they're absolutely terrible, aren't they? So
Well, you look at that. Well, the try almost came off with the same player where Croft puts that kick through for Hanley catches it. It nearly happened again. The amount of times they did that at the beginning of the season and it came off. And they just seem to have lost that sort of.
They've ruined Brodie Croft.
Oh yeah, man, the hooker they brought as well from Salford. Because Hackers, when he was at Salford, was turning the house down, wasn't he? But they're just not letting him off the leash.
They've ruined them too, and I think they've put so much emphasis. I love ripping Leeds to bits. Good's this. Him that they've given the number one shirt to. I've said it since the very first time I saw him.
Lucky Miller.
It's almost like a circus act.
Do you know what? Going back to what we were saying,
absolutely bananas.
What we were saying with Bell, I think it's a similar sort of scenario. I think he's a one-trick pony, and suddenly everybody found out how the trick works.
I think that's very harsh on James Bell. I think that's really harsh on James Bell.
Not saying James Bell is, but what I'm saying is they've worked out. Yeah. I mean, obviously Bell's got a few more tricks up his sleeve.
It's not even a trick that he's got. Lucky Miller, he's just good on his feet, but he doesn't know how to play rugby league. Everything about his rugby league, which is fair enough if he's coming in and you give him like number 28 in the squad. But this is like Leeds Rhinos we're talking about.
But you've also
and
got
to
a great
give him the
space.
number one shirt.
You've also got a great space so he can use his footwork. If he's giving him the ball, flat ball, he's not going to do anything.
But would you have him if you're Leeds Rhinos?
I'm not saying I'll take him. I'm just saying you've got to have space to create.
But there are players in that team that you would take, are they not?
Yeah.
And they're still the miles behind everybody, like Ash Hanley, Harry Newman, Croft, possibly Hackers. There's loads of players that you would take, but they're not performing. To the sum of the parts, if you like.
100% agree with Reece Martin.
Reece Martin's another one,
him with a
contracts, isn't it? In the season,
him with a stupid mullet who plays loose forward.
Cameron Smith, excellent player. Yeah, he is.
But not the Cameron Smith, yeah.
So you're right. The third most famous Cameron Smith in sports.
All the players you mentioned there are very good individually, but you need to be playing as a team for them to get the best out of. You can't have Brodie Croft performing when the forwards are doing the job.
Which maybe comes back to what Blake Austin was saying.
They haven't got any props, though, have they, to be honest, to speak of. They've got a Ledsky. Lissoni is an impact player. He's not really an 80-minute guy. And then they've got Allroyd, who I think is currently injured. Not much else.
Like you said, you can't give Ash Hanley the ball in his own 10 and expect him to work wonders and go 100 metres, can you? You've got to create the space and got to create the overlap for them wingers and create the platform for the half-backs to perform. So at the minute it's just not working for Leeds, so at some point I think it's only a matter of time that the coach will get sacked.
And exactly how much sympathy we got for Leeds, absolutely bugger all.
But saying that, speaking of Leeds, obviously there was the sad news yesterday of Rob Burrows passing away, and I suppose to an extent we knew it was going to be an inevitability. It was just a matter of when, because we've seen this with quite a few, certainly sportsmen who've sort of been confront and centre and highlighted the MND disease and done terrifically well in doing that. And of course, obviously, Kevin Sinfield obviously doing absolutely shed-full of stuff on behalf of both the Rob and the MND as well. Speaking of him as a player, I remember it's going back when we were playing them in one of the finals when they were pasting us every year at Old Trafford, and I used to go in the George in St Helens on a Thursday night, and then the guy behind the bar, Al, said to me, he said, "Steve," he said, "guys are in from Sky here." He said, "You have a word with them?" I said, "Well, said about the game on Saturday." Yeah. I said, "All right," something came in, cameras were in, and anyway, he said to me, he asked me also various things, and then one of the last things he said, "Is there anything that worries you?" I said, "What worries me is Rob Burrows." I said, "Because for me, if he gets any pace up," I said, "because of his size," I said, "that's his benefit." I said, "because his pace," I said, "and he can duck under tackles, can get away and go." Lo and behold, he did exactly what we said. And for his size and what he did with that team, you've got to take your hat off to him and say, sort of, well done, mate, on that. And it's just, a massive shame of what's happened to him, and condolences to his family and all his friends and relatives, and obviously all the Leeds supporters who watched him over the years as well.
To both of the things you said, I'll add a little to both. First of all, about the illness itself, many years ago, a really close lifelong friend of mine, going back to maybe when he was late teens, his mother was diagnosed with MND, and at the time, there was not a lot of people knew about it, and I didn't know much about. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know about it. Now, as Paul will tell you, my mother's worked. She worked all life in the medical game, and she was quite high up. She was really high up. She was good. And I asked her about it, and she explained to me what this disease was. And she always said, in her opinion, all diseases, like terminal diseases, are brutal. She says, but that one is particularly nasty. She said, if there's any disease that is savagely brutal to the person who's got it and the family, because of the way that it slowly takes you apart. Now, that's always stuck with me, and I'm not going to mention his name, but this good pal of mine, when I do, you've met, when his mother had this, and it was because it's such a prolonged illness, and I often used to think about what my mother said about it, and then for years and years and years it stayed exactly where it was. I knew about it, and I began to take more notice about this disease because of what my friend's mother went through, and like I say, it was a childhood friend who I still see every week and go to games with. Now, what Kevin Sinfield did for raising the awareness, and I know we had Doddy Way, but Kevin Sinfield took it to, and now all of a sudden the whole country seems to be taking note, and it's a brutal, savagely brutal illness, and it took Rob Burrows going through what he went through, and Kevin Sinfield doing the work he's done. But now, finally, and I think illnesses such as dementia went through a similar sort of thing about 5 to 10 years ago, where suddenly people were taking notice of it, that this is actually a big problem, and it's really nasty.
Yeah, because there's certainly with dementia, I mean, arguably, for years and years, and your mum would say exactly, for years and years, it was just put down as old age.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And now they're sort of getting into sort of the side of things where they're, they're identifying specifically what part of the degenerative process is happening and nailing down which diseases are causing these issues.
And that started getting the attention that rightfully or wrongly, if deserves is the right word, I don't know. But MND, and when I knew what my mate's mother was going through, and when my own mother explained to me the ins and outs of this illness, I couldn't believe that it was almost like under the radar. It was like, well, wow, why is nothing? But what Kevin Sinfield's done to bring it to the, and I know Doddy Way did a lot, and Doddy Way was, that battle of Doddy Ways was, but when it all of a sudden you get Rob Burrows with guys like us, he's been an integral part of our rugby league for such a remarkable player. And then to touch with your little story about the George, we went up to Hull when they were playing at the Boulevard, watching the Saints, and we went and stood behind the sticks at the old Boulevard. There was me, our kid was there, I think Gaz was there, and Rob Burrows was there. He was an academy player. He wasn't playing, he was just there with his mates. I don't know for what reason, but he was at the Boulevard. There was a group of them, I don't know whether Leeds Academy had played beforehand or whatever it was, but they were on it, and we'd heard about him but never seen him play. He must have only been 16 at the time or something like that. And he was fantastic. Then Paul knows our kid really well. Our kid's a bit of a prick when he wants to be, to be honest. but he was having the banter with Rob Burrows, and Rob Burrows was ace. He was good, and he's the only one. Who knows who else might have been in that academy team at that time when you look at what all their players did. But Rob Burrows, even at 16 years, he was top class. He was and they stayed there for the game, and the Saints fans are singing, and they're all there, and the banter's going on. That was the very first time I came across Rob Burrows. So obviously then you keep an eye out for what he goes on to do. But yeah, I think Kev Sinfield, from a personal point of view, with that illness, priceless. But yeah, like you say, I echo everything else you say, though.
Ste, your thoughts on Rob Burrows?
Yeah, well, as you probably know, I lost my dad to MND about 4 years ago. So it's a subject that's kind of close to my heart. And the work that he's done, Rob Burrows, with Kevin Sinfield, like you're saying, and the whole foundation that they've established, it means a lot to me, because I want to see that progress so that other people don't have to go through the same thing that the Burrows family going through now, and that I went through a few years ago. I mean, it's slightly different circumstances with my dad. It didn't go on for 4 or 5 years. It was quite quick, but still, MND's MND, so it was obviously a terrible time. So yeah, I mean, remarkable individual to face that diagnosis the way that he did, with the courage, and then still go on to achieve so many things in terms of the fundraising and the raising awareness of MND is outstanding. But what's got a little bit lost in this, I think, because it's right to point those things out, but you also shouldn't be forgotten that what an amazing rugby league player he was. An absolutely fantastic rugby league player. Elusive, pace off the mark. You couldn't tackle him because he'd just duck under you, go around, go swerve around you, or whatever. Just a fantastic player. I think was it 8 grand final wins as well? These things are getting a little bit lost, but so a really sad time. But as you said, there is unfortunately an inevitability about it. It takes different lengths of time for different people. There must be different types, I think, different variants, because you get that. I mean, my dad's took like 2 weeks, and then you get like Stephen Hawking took, I think it was 50 years after his diagnosis. So there must be different variants of it, but at the end of the day, it is essentially a death sentence. It's really important that work goes on, so that we can eventually find some sort of at least treatment for it.
That is the important bit,
to slow it down, maybe. Perhaps that's the first goal, I would think. So I'm glad that he and Kevin Sinfield have done all that, so that that work goes on. So thoughts go out to his family as well. Yeah,
because like you said, Steve, a lot of it, as well, is that I mean, as much as the family don't have the illness, they still have a lot to bear, and as you say, you'll know that as well. Paul, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, he's touched many hearts, hasn't he? He was, like Steve just said, he was a superb player. Growing up in my generation, literally all it was the his generation of all the grand finals, and Rob Burrows was at the heart of that, wasn't he? So, like you've just said then, he's touched many hearts. What Kevin Sidville's done at the minute, as well as Rob Burrows, just literally his legacy will live on, won't it? So, yeah, condolences to his family, and like I said, what a hero he was.
Yeah, the thing is as well is that hopefully, and I'm sure things won't get forgotten. You know, things will be still carried on, and still, you know, there will be a lot. You know, he's put a legacy there now. I suppose to a certain extent, he's the Yorkshire Steve Prescott, isn't he? In that sort of sense, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you only had to see what was happening outside Henley yesterday when Sky Sports were there, and all the fans were. It wasn't just Leeds fans, was it? It was like the rugby league community just all come together, and even rugby league fans, rugby union fans, everybody was there, weren't they? And to pay the respects, and that's what it should be. That's what rugby's all about.
Yeah, so condolences to the family, of course, and as I said, to all his friends and everybody there, certainly at Leeds, who watched him all those years, and obviously he was a massive hero from a rugby point of view. He was a scourge of Saints for God knows how many years in those
grand final try he scored.
Oh, yeah.
Outrageous.
Right, moving on. End of the month, so was take on Catalan Dragons, and Saints weren't at the best, particularly in the first half, but they had the class to overcome Catalans on home soil with a thoroughly dominant second half display. But by their own admission, Paul Wellens' side lacked patience in the first half, turning the ball over several times, but they held the Dragons to just one score and slowly established their dominance before half-time and kicked clear in the second half to seal a comfortable win. Both sides were missing key personnel, but Saints, after a slow start, got on top physically through the middle and were lifted by the return of AGNATIUS Paasi after 10-month injury layoff, which ultimately turned the game in their favour, with the sensational Jack Welsby captaining the club for the first time and able to run riots on the back of it. The game star was Jack Welsby, and he was at the heart of everything Saints did well, breaking the line multiple times and setting up 2 of the side's 4 tries. Game breaker, Saints hit Catalans with 2 quick tries after half-time to get the game away from their opponents. Tries from Lees, Makinson, Batautia and Orrell, with Percival great with the boot again, kicking 4, and tries from Bousquet and Johnston with 2 goals from Morg. I thought this could be a banana skin, certainly with the way Catalan had shaped the week before, or hadn't shaped. And of course, Saints doing so well, you're thinking, is it going to one of them where which they turn us over again? Because I know they've got a pretty good record against us at the moment.
Even the Saints have.
Yeah. And I know they were let down with Meakin not being able to play at short notice, but nevertheless it was still sort of one of them games where you thought, have we got this in the bag? I think even when it was 24-12 when they scored the second, I thought, are they going to do us again? Because we'd seen it so many times.
Memories of the Magic game in Newcastle.
State your thoughts, mate.
I think it's a really good win, this. Really, really good win, because I think they'll be a top 4 side end of the season. So any win, even at home, I think you take that and don't focus as much on the performance. I don't like it when I hear coaches talk about we didn't have patience, though, because that just means lack of patience to me just means we tried to play a bit, and I want to see the team try to play a bit. All that is the odd offload went to a different coloured shirt, to the one it was intended for, and that sometimes happens when you're trying to play expansively. And
it did go to a red V though.
It did go to a red V, which another bugbear I could talk all night about.
I know you're going to say
about the black kid, but I'm not going to bother. So yeah, I just like the fact that we did try a few things in attack, especially second half. So I'm not too worried about a lack of patience, so to speak, because I think we can defend it anyway. If we do get the ball away, we can defend it anyway. So I'd rather see us play a little bit more open, but I wasn't expecting, on the back of those 2 massive wins against Cass and Leeds, you're not going to expect to beat Catalan by 40, 50 points. It's not going to happen because they're better than that. So I think, all in all, we handled it really well and got the most important thing, important 2 points.
They did.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought the first 20 minutes, the amount of mistakes we made, the amount of pressure we put ourselves under, when it was just a constant wave coming at us, and to only be 6 points down, I thought was unbelievably resilient.
That's what I mean about our defence, though. We can do that, can't we?
We didn't get a sniffer there. 40, yet alone their line in that first half.
We got into their half once, and then was it Saddened made a mistake, and then you've got Percy making a mistake on our own 20, our own 30. We had 6 against going against us. And we did make a few mistakes, but I thought it was sensational the way we kept them out. And let's be honest, they're a bunch of dirty, grubby oiks, aren't they? You know, they're so physical. And I think, like McNamara said after the game, when Saints and Catalan come up against each other, they knock 7 bells out of each other. They absolutely battle each other. And I thought it was brilliant. I want to touch now, we mentioned George Delaney before.
Yeah.
I despise people staying down if they're not injured. I despise all that sort of shenanigans. But the way the game has gone now, if let's just say in another 6 or 7 years' time, if George Delaney is in the same situation as he was with Tariq Sims in that first half, because I'm convinced if George Delaney stays down after that challenge of Tariq Sims, then Tariq Sims gets a red card.
So has anything happened from the disciplinary?
I believe not.
I can't believe that.
Not.
I cannot believe that, because I called it straight away.
That was, but for all credit to George Delaney, we know he's tough as nails, and he bounced straight back up, and there was no reaction from him whatsoever. Tariq Sims has been really lucky there, I think, and I think a lot of credit goes to George Delaney for that, for getting up. Again, I'd sooner see him get back up, but I also want the referees to see things like that. When you've got officials, and when you think, we mentioned before about what Tommy got sent off for at Cass, and then Sims, I can understand the yellow card later on in the game. You know, at the time it was like, send him off. But when I've watched it back a couple of times, I think, well, yeah, maybe it was a yellow card. But
has he got a ban?
No. The only 2 things I believe that have come out of the disciplinary panel is Dupree and Kieran. Now, but I did read that literally an hour after it happened, so maybe I've missed something there, I don't know. But for the game itself, I thought it was blood and snot everywhere. It was tough, and I think again the forwards we've already mentioned, and I think this one, Noah Stevens really came into his own.
Yeah,
he was stupendous. Yeah. But again, Sirinen, Matautia, Stevens, Matty Lees, Mark Percival, Daz Clark, Moses and back, they all had really good games. And again, the freedom that Daz Clark plays with Johnny not on the field, but Jack Wellesby, he is just sensational. He really he excites you when he gets the ball, and he is going to make mistakes, but Sean Long used to make a lot of mistakes, but he used to win us a lot of games. Jack Wellesby makes mistakes, but that's because, like Steve said there, we can afford to defend those mistakes, because more often than not he'll win games for you. And I really enjoyed that I really enjoyed that performance. I thought it was top draw, and I love the fact, we've mentioned it a few times on here over the years, that East stand was full, and I'll say it again, with the exception of Warrington, Wigan, Salford, Lee, and possibly the Hull teams if it's not on a Friday.
Yeah.
Every other team, and I include Leeds because they only brought 200 fans the other week, every other team I'd just open the end block on the north stand, stick them in that, and then I'd get whoever you want, nurses, policemen, firemen, ambulance men, school kids, teachers, whoever you want, stick them in that east stand. Let's have all 4 stands with a good crowd in it, because it makes a difference.
I think Leeds fans was just them voting with their feet, wasn't it? I think if they were competitive, there'd be a few more on than that.
Well, yeah, if they were competitive, there would be, but then again, even though they're not competitive, they play at Headingley, they'll still get 15,000, 16,000.
Yeah.
They just don't seem to travel well. But aside, the game itself, I love that, the Catalans, Iggy.
Yeah.
But those players, yet again, I thought stood out. I think there's 5 or 6 players that are now getting consistently really, really high levels of performance. I love Sirinen again. You know, they were just great. They were superb.
Paul, your thoughts on that? And of course, AGNATIUS Paasi coming back. I thought he'd be really lean and keen, didn't he? And obviously he's had the trim as well, which makes him look totally different.
A bit faster.
Yeah.
No, backing up what the lads have just said then, I thought it was an outstanding performance. I was quietly confident going into this game, which I'm not normally. I'm against Catalan, but to be fair, if you get Catalan on the road compared to what Catalan are at home, they're a different team for me. You go to Catalan and you literally you don't know what's going to happen. But when Catalan are away from home, I'm quietly confident, and I thought Saints did a number on them. I thought, like Ady said before, all our forwards stood up. To be fair, it was one of them games for Noah Stevens where he had to run hard or he was going to get clattered. Same with Delaney, same with all the forwards, because
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
if you're not running against Catalan, they are thugs, aren't they, as well? They're going to come and boss you about. So, no, they all stood up. Our outside backs played well as well. Again, Blake, I thought, when he carried the ball, he was taking 2-3 players to get him down. If he gets the ball in his hands a bit more, he can create stuff.
Yeah.
But we've just got to give him the ball. Again, out wide, if we see him get the ball to him, get Percy to pass him a few more times, and we might see a bit more action from him. But he's an handful. But no, the outside backs, forwards all stood up. And like you said, with Paasi coming back on, it was good that he got a standing ovation when he come on, and everyone was buzzing to see him. So no, I was made it.
Well, what bugs me about Wacker, and it happened again in that game, is when it's hey lads hey on our own line, half of the time he gets up like with some sort of leg injury and the physio goes on, and that happened again, and a split second later Jack Wellesby's race, and Wellesby's like that, where the hell is he? And he's behind the try line getting treatment. 30 seconds after that he's down the other end of the field, nothing up with him. You know, if you've took a wallop at that size, where's your guts? You're a professional rugby league player.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He was getting mauled because there'd been a bit of I don't know, a bit of roughness going on our own line.
He does tend to like the ball in the opposition's half, doesn't he?
But then Wellesby's gone, and when Wellesby's at the halfway line,
Yeah, he's looking for support, yeah.
Now, and that was the opportunity for Blake to show us what he can do with it, because I bet he can shift when he gets going. We've just never seen it.
He's a sandwich short of pitting at the win. He's a bit like all over the place. You see him in back play, like waving his hands around and stuff, and half the time you think, what's he doing? But when he does get the ball and he's in the right positions, he can cause some damage. But like you said, you do want to see more of him. But what I'm saying is, the last few weeks we have seen the touches of class that he can do. So now you've seen him, you want to see him more. You don't want to be waiting to the end of the season saying, oh well, we have seen it the last 2 or 3 games. You want to see it mid-season. Now the grounds are firming up and we're getting a bit better weather.
Yeah, I must admit, as I say, looking back at it, and you look at some of the players that Catalan haven't got anymore. I mean, certainly the obvious one is Tompkins at fullback.
Do you know what? I think Sam Tompkins has been one of my favourite players for you, and people at the Saints that are going mad at me. But you will struggle to find a better player in the last 10 years than Tom. And since he went to Catalan, what he was producing week and towards the back end of his career, they were saying that he couldn't even train properly. The lad was literally falling apart at the seams. But the game itself, how good was that try with that kick from Abdul to Tom Johnson?
Yeah.
What a bit of vision from Jordan Abdul.
But that's what he has in his locker, and he's lost. I don't know, and he's not the same player as when he was at OKR.
He's not lost his dinner, that's for sure.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. But yeah, Catalans, like Steve said, they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end, because McNamara knows how to manage it, doesn't he? He knows how to manage it well. And even if they have to go away and play away, even though they're not the greatest away team, inverted commas, I think when it comes to the cards down, they will try everything and anything. And I'm sure Bernard Gorsh will bring a bull over with him too, like Liz on the pitch, wherever they play in the semi or something like that. So that was, I suppose, guys, we'll go around. Steve, first I'll come to you. That was a good month, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, 3 wins out of 3. Can't argue with that, can you really? Now we've got a nice week off to try and rest and recuperate. We're in a good position, top of the league. You can't really ask for much more than that. Albeit we've still got we're going to have that one game in hand that they could go above us. So I think we're in a good spot. From at the start of the season, I had us down finishing 4th, and we're nearly halfway through. I think one more round, we're halfway through. And we're still top, so it's all going great so far. I've still got issues with the style of play, but I think I'll always have that.
Yeah.
Under the
do you not think it's coming to a bit though? Certainly this last month, like we were
I
just
do,
saying.
I do. Yeah. But then you get the coach saying, "Oh, we're not patient enough."
Yeah.
To me, that says stop offloading the ball, please. I've not asked you to do that, which you don't want to see. So, but other than that, I'm totally happy with where we are at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, Ady?
Yeah, very pleased. We said a few weeks ago, didn't we? The last couple of times we went out, that we've been top of the league, and we know as Saints fans that we were top of that league. We had the best points difference in the league, and we hadn't played well at all, and we were still up there. And I think the attack is clicking now. I've really enjoyed, and I'm pleased for the coach, because I think every Saints fan is desperate for it to work for Wello, because it's Wello, and we know that he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think we all kind of felt a bit for him with the situation.
We'll come back to that in a second, because I want to bring that point up in a second. Paul, your thoughts on how things are certainly for this last month? And
just touching on what I said before, basically I thought the last month we started throwing the ball around and played some entertaining rugby, which we've been crying out for the beginning of the season. Like Ady said then, we've not been playing, well, start of the season, we're terrible, to be fair. We're Saints fans watching a Saints team of how they know they can play. We've not even been, for me, 60-70%. We've been like,
especially with the same people, though.
Yeah, forward. And we touched on that before, and we said we've got exactly the same players. The players can produce, and we've started showing that. Yes, it was against Castleford, but Castleford have slowly started getting better now. They've started bringing bodies in. But we started throwing the ball around, and the same players are in them same positions. So if we get the ball in hand, let's throw it about, because we'll entertain. So yeah, we showed glimpses against Leeds second half. We put the points on, and same with Catalan. So the players are there, we can do it. It's just if the coach is going to turn around and say, let's throw the ball about, because we'll turn most teams over, like I said before.
Yeah, I've got to agree that results-wise, like Steve said, it's been a cracking month. The other side of it I look at it is looking at the injuries that we've had, and the people who have stepped up, and the people who have moved and changed, and then you look at those results, that makes it, really, really an impressive month altogether.
A lot of the time when young lads come through, you enjoy seeing them through, because they come through like they're all energetic, aren't they? They give 100%. And sometimes it's like you go against the game plan, because you've just got these young kids coming through, and like Noah Stevens are only he goes straight and hard, and he's got a bit of an offload game in him, so that'll come to his game plan in the next few weeks or so, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, you see a bit more energy, and the young lads bring that, and then a few of the older heads then step up again. So like I said, and like Ady touched on before, you want Wellens to do well, you want the team to do well, and they're starting to play. It's just frustrating when you know how well we can play, and we're just for some reason holding back. Unless we're holding back to the playoffs, then
I hope there's two players there. I think Sirinen and Matautia are both playing that well, and they have both stepped up. Well, Matautia's not stepped up this season. He's been incredible all season, but I think Sirinen in the last 4 or 5 matches has stepped up massively, to the degree that I wouldn't be surprised if the pair of them get offers to go back home, because they're playing the type of rugby that you need to play in the NRL.
Yeah,
and they're doing it. I mean, Sirinen in the last 3 matches.
We touched on Sirinen last month, saying he wasn't getting as much game time, and we wanted to see game time, because when he got ball in hand, he created stuff.
Yeah,
and the last month he's got more game time, obviously because of the injuries we've got, and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, those two, I think, whether they end up staying with us and Oceani's contract's up, we'll leave that for another show. But I think those two are playing that well that they are going to be triggering radars in the NRL once again.
And understandably so.
Deservedly so.
Sticking on to contracts, what I'd like to sort of raise is, as far as Mo, Wellens' contract is up at the end of the season. And I'm just concerned a bit about, should they be sort of saying, okay, we're going to keep you on, or do you think the fact that nothing's been said that there could be issues about looking at somebody else?
No, I don't think so. I think Saints always do the business behind closed doors, don't they? Like last year, we knew Whitley had signed from Easter, didn't we, or even beginning of the season, but it only come out literally a week or two after the grand final. I don't think Wellens is going anywhere, and if we did get anybody else, then
don't get me wrong, I don't think he should.
No, I get what you're saying.
Because I think you look at his record and take his name out of it, and people would say, well, actually,
if you
that bloke's done a good job, hasn't he?
You're then going to get a new coach coming in, and it's going to be a year or two to put his team together. You're going to be a long process again. So you're on the ride with Wellens at the minute, and he's doing a good job. All we're asking him to do, or all I'm asking him, is to play a bit more free-flowing rugby. And like I said, but at the minute, we're top of the league. There's no... Fans can't complain, can they? Well, a lot of them can't, but because we're top of the league, so...
Steve, your thoughts, mate? Because I'm looking on the backs of the contracts that have been, well, certainly the Matty Pete one for the starters, of the length. I'm not saying giving them one that long, but I mean, surely
How long is it?
It's about 7
years.
7 years they've Matty Pete.
Well, he has done an outstanding job, as you said.
It's not just David, it's his whole team.
So that's huge, isn't it? Yeah.
But in terms of Welland, I'm generally in favour of giving coaches time, giving them a chance. I would give Kieran more time than he got in the end. But I mean, you're probably right that he will stay on. But if we have a bad run now of 8 defeats in a row or something, and the fans start, it doesn't take much for the fan base to turn, is what I would say. So I think he's susceptible to that if we have a bad run. But the way if it's going, the way it's going now, I think he's got nothing to worry about. But it's when do they make that decision? Do they give him a contract now and risk things turning in sour with a bad run, or do they wait till later in the season, see how it goes, and then say, right, there's another 2 years or whatever?
Yeah,
that's what I would do. I'd delay the decision until we know.
So you can understand why nothing's been sort of touted at the moment. Yeah, Ady?
I 100% think we stick with him and stick by him, and I don't necessarily think for some of our fans that it will take a bad run, especially not an 8-match bad run. There's already been spells this season where him and his family have been subject, and it's just awful. It
wouldn't take 8 games. It wouldn't take it half that.
It's like a game and a half. But I think you absolutely stick with him. A couple of different places you hear that it would be his assistant that would be moving, and there's a name being mentioned about somebody else coming in to replace his assistant, another local guy, another ex-player, but I think we stick with Wello. I've got not even a question for me. Not even a question.
Because Simmons was just saying, you take his name out of that equation and look at the stats, and you think, well, you know what, that's not a bad job. And then you look how long he's been doing head coach role. I mean,
you see, you think Graham will be sat in Malta now, and Graham has always said that he should leave the club and go and cut his teeth elsewhere. But when you actually look at what Wello's done as a coach and who he's been an assistant to, again, that's where I think Kieran was so harsh, because of the way Kieran was literally dropped. I mean, we were at the Saints when Kieran told us a story about Eamon McManus begging him to take control of the team, and he didn't want to do it, Kieran, but how could he say no to Eamon? Kieran himself said that to us. I mean, we were thirsty. But when you look at Paul Wellens and what his background in coaching is, I mean, when you look at the coaches and also the international scene, don't forget as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think he's the man. I think he's, and when it comes to the contract side of it, I mentioned Graham there. I'm going to mention Gaz now, because one of Gaz's favourite things is he's convinced that Saints like to do the cheap option. And he thinks that they would take liberties regarding the likes of Kieran and Paul Wellens, in the fact that they will run through brick walls for that club. They will do anything for that club. So Saints can just dangle a little carrot in front of these people because the club and the town means that much to them. Whereas if you want a Christian Wolf and a Justin Albert, we've already seen that big dollars and a better job, and they're off, they're gone. No matter how much glory they bring to us, you give them a sniff of a job in Australia, even if it is with the worst club in Australia, they're gone. But these lads like Paul Wellens, so I just hope it's not a case of Saints just resting on the laurels a bit, think, oh, it's Wello, it's good old Wello, we'll stay at Saints. But as for, I dearly love him to get a nice contract and stay and it all work out, and give him the time to build the work that's going to need building. As we know, we've got the basis, we've got some very, very, very good young players, we've got the best player in the league who is a young player. But we know there's going to be work to be done. I just hope that everybody, fans included, stick with him, and I'd love to see him there for years to come.
I'd give him 2 years and then review it from there. I won't be giving him 7 years.
No.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I don't know if the Matty Pete 7-year thing was like a bit of a tub thumping exercise, because
but isn't that because of who their owners are now? You know, they've got a huge wallet as well, haven't they? You know, so that doesn't surprise me.
I seen a quote this week that Danson's got like more money than the king. You know, the fella is a multi-billionaire. You know, that's an incredible amount of wealth.
So what he's doing in Wigan, we'll never know.
Thank goodness for the salary cap in that case.
That's why I received Adlinski today calling for it to be scrapped.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Funny that is. You've got one of the richest men in the country. You don't want to let's scrap the salary cap.
Interesting timing that, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it? Was it good? Sorry, Paul. Was it?
It worked from well last time, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh. Retro. Let's get back to the 80s.
Uncle Barracks.
Right, let's just go through the injury news that certainly that I've managed to purloin. I think the phrase is Morgan Knowles has played with a groin injury for a number of weeks, and the Saints have opted to send him for surgery, which will rule him out for around 6 weeks. Jake Winfield is expected to be missing for the next 4 months after undergoing shoulder surgery. Matt Whitley is also set for a 3-month layoff, also having a shoulder operation. Alex Walmsley is still recovering from his injury.
He was on crutches, wasn't he, the other day with a brace on?
Yeah, Joe Batchelor has got some significant ankle ligament damage, and it looks like it's going to be a 9-week layoff for him. Johnny Lomax got a fractured hand, and the thinking is that they're not going to require surgery. However, he'll be missing for around 4 weeks. So quite a. When I say a big injury list, it's a lengthy. When I say lengthy, in the weeks those players are going to be off, Steve.
That was my first thought. The biggest issue we've got there, I think, with that list of injuries is just the length of time those guys are going to be out for. I mean, you've got two there that are, 4 months? One more that's 3 months.
Yeah.
And they're really influential players as well. Alex Walmsley.
How long's Worms out for?
It was 4 months initially, it might be. So it's 3 months now.
Still recovering from his injury, so there's not, from what I've found, there's no time scale as such.
It'll be about 3 months from now, I think, at least.
Did you notice him after the Catalan game on the pitch, Walmsley, when McNamara went up to him and he was on his crutches and he had it looked like scaffolding round his legs. So
it's a fair way off yet. Then we can infer from that. So yeah, like you said, the time that these players are going to be out for, that's going to cause a problem. Fortunately, we have got one or two like Stevens and Delaney coming through and making an impact. But as I said before, I worry about if we get to a point where we're leaning on them and they're sort of inexperienced, that could be an issue down the line. So yeah, it's an issue, big problem.
Yeah, it's got to be managed. Eddie, your thoughts, mate?
The timing of Iggy coming back couldn't have been better.
Yeah, that's true.
It really is great timing.
But again, how much responsibility do you place on him?
That's it, you've got to manage him well now as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Absence.
It is, and like you say, I don't think. I mean, at the start of the season, we was all like, "Why have we signed more forwards? Why have we signed more forwards?"
I'm guilty of that. I said, "Well, another second row. Are you joking?"
Me too.
And I've only got one left, haven't we?
and I thought, if anything, we'd need them because of suspensions.
That's what we said, wasn't it?
And it's not. But it's calling on the squad, and this is where, for all the criticism Ben Davies gets, he's no superstar, he's no glut, he's not going to win you the game, but he'll not often let you down.
He came into that match the other day, and when he came on, he was right up for it right from the first step on the pitch.
He give you everything.
Yeah.
But you're right, he's not of that quality, is he?
No,
but in a salary cap sport, he's a squad fella, isn't he? And this is when we're going to need him, because the one thing he will do, he'll not drop off a tackle, he'll not bottle out of anything. Tough as teak, and he's decent, and he can also cover 3-4 different positions. And
play prop.
And
there was a spell he was playing 6, wasn't there? 1 year.
He played, And I
hope we don't go back to that. But
and I think
that wouldn't be ideal, but he's done it before.
He gets a lot of stick, and especially like when we lose matches. I remember reading a great article by Mike Critchley, and he said Ben Davies is one of the first targets for the Boo Boys, but nobody ever says anything. There's matches. I remember when we went away to Salford, and he virtually won that game for us at Salford. Not a mention of him. And he was miles.
He had a terrible first 20 minutes, didn't he? Where Lafayette turned him inside out a few times, but then after that, he was fantastic.
And I think for a player who's not going to be earning a lot of money,
you've got to have them players in your squad.
But like I said, this is where you're testing your squad. I think it's Sam Royal. He came in now.
Was he at Leeds last year? I'm sure he was on loan at Leeds last year.
He could well have been, but I expected so much from Sam Royal. I mean, when he was captain of that academy team that went all season unbeaten, he was unbelievable. But he's never kicked on to that next level. But we need these lads now. We need these players now. And with a little bit of young stardust coming in with the likes of Noah Stevens there, and we've yet to need to lean on Whitby, who we all keep hearing about, who's supposed to be the reason that they're more comfortable with Lewis Dodd going elsewhere.
I think with Royal, though, until now, with these injuries, his pathway has been blocked.
Yeah.
We have got so many good second rowers.
Second row and 13, yeah. But I'd like to say, we now, it's... And when you look at the backs, I think this is how crucial it is. If I was coaching, I'd be saying to Percy and Tommy, right, you're not 20 stone wrecking balls. Don't be taking... I don't know why, I still cringe against Catalan when you're watching, like Blake, for example, running up to the line and then doing his little hop and his skip before he makes contact, and then Percy's just like 1,000 mile an hour straight into whoever's there. Because we need to keep Tommy and Percival. If they get hurt, we're going to be struggling, I think. But yeah, it's certainly a bit of an injury crisis. But we're not on our own. There's a lot of teams struggling.
No, I totally agree. But it's just a fact again. When you look at that injury list and this month and the results, it makes that even more special. It's easy to look at the numbers and say, oh, we got this. But when you look at the players that got us those numbers,
the details.
Yeah. Right, just moving on. And of course, obviously, we were saddened to hear about the passing of Saints' longest full-time serving member of staff, Christine Hesketh, who worked for the Saints for over 39 years. And it was funny is the wrong word, but when I saw that come up, I thought, that's got to be her who's done every single year when I used to go for my Challenge Cup tickets or whatever. And then obviously when I saw the picture, it was one of those where didn't know the woman that well, only know her from going in and obviously getting tickets and picking up your season ticket, and always had a good word for you and a little bit of a chat and all that sort of thing. No age as well. Paul, your thoughts, mate?
Oh, she was an amazing woman. We were like friends of the family, so we knew her quite well. And like you just touched on, then getting tickets for finals and season tickets, you go in. And I know our Darren was really close to Darren. Would go and spend his dinner time and sit in the ticket office and have dinner with her. So she's amazing, amazing woman. She did a lot for everybody, and a lot of the fans you speak to just went in and had a chat, and she was always there, smile on her face, wasn't she? And she was greeted everybody, no matter what you're in the shop for. You'd always get a smile off Christine. So absolutely gutted that she's not here anymore, and condolences to Kirsty and Mike and the rest of the family. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I mean, same as I'm going back Knowsley Road, when you got a final and there was that queue around the training park outside, and then when you got in there, and the thing is, these days with the ticket office, obviously a lot of it you can get online and all that sort of thing, so there's not as much face-to-face contact, but the thing is, so there's less confrontation or chance of confrontation. When you're selling season tickets and somebody wants 9 and there isn't in that, I mean, I remember going in there, and all sorts used to kick off left, right and centre, and she'd get in there and she'd be able to control it, sort it out and get it sorted out. And that wasn't just a one-off, because obviously the amount of times we were in big games and that was happening left, right and centre was unbelievable. And yeah, as I say, it certainly shocked me, it totally did. Ady?
Yeah, it's someone I knew from pretty much when she started working at Saints, because, as you know, because of my father's involvement there. And when you mention about the Wembley ticket, I remember going down as a kid, queuing up all around the training pitch, out onto Dumriding Lane, being there at like 5 o'clock in the morning, queuing up, getting to the ticket office.
You just need a wee. And
queuing up, eventually getting to the ticket office, and Chris turning around and saying, "The bloody hell are you doing here? Your dad's got your tickets." But that just got down with me, mate. But everything that Paul says there, and then some, an incredible human being. And for me, if I have to put, I used to think of her almost as the face of the club, because she was the most human person that a supporter would come into contact with. She was the most relatable.
I'll say something now. Until hearing that, I never knew what her name was, but I knew who she was. Do you know what I mean?
Well, she a remarkable woman, always has been, always amazed. And again, like I say, from my dad's association and doings with the club over the years, I've always known her. But it's like she gave fans the feeling that she knew them all. And it was almost like, it was incredible if you went to when you was going for your away match tickets and you went to the club, that every supporter that went in there, it was like she knew them. You could ring the ticket office, and if Chris answered the phone, she'd know you straight. Just a remarkable human being, and well, like I say, she'll be sorely missed. But for me, she was like that first. When you think of a face of the club, for me, it was Chris. I mean, and she lived. I mean, and Paul knows this. She was like a neighbour of our Kells, my daughter. And our Kells would often speak to her, and every time went in, she'd ask our Kell. You know, just a remarkable human. A massive loss for everybody, a massive loss for people who knew her, but for the family, obviously, it goes without saying. But a remarkable lady who will be massively missed by everybody.
Yeah. Steve, thoughts?
Well, I didn't know her, but just listening to you guys talk about her and what I've read in the Rugby League media and coming out of Saints as well, it does come through how special that she must have been, and then how the high regard that she was held in. So obviously a very sad time. And
and I think it's important though that we sort of appreciate the value of somebody coming from the town and being involved, and somebody who's got that sort of like you said, it's not management skills per se, it's just life skills, isn't it?
It's a connection.
It's knowing how to deal with people and talk to people, and you know, and diffuse things about where they talk without, you know, doing course X, Y, and Z to be able to do it. You know, just knowing how to do those sorts of things.
She would, if you went into the ticket office for whether it be season tickets, whether it be away tickets, or especially when they moved to the new stadium and the systems changed from what it used to be at Knowlesy Road. And then there were so many people that wanted to sit where they stood on the pop side. And myself and my gang, exactly the same. But she would go above and beyond to accommodate people. Now, if it was a situation that she knew she couldn't do anything about, she would dress it up to you in a way that you would accept. Whereas other people at the ticket office are just, no, you can't have that. Computer says you can't have it. No, you can't have. But Chris, do you know what I mean? It was that people thing, like you said, and she really was for me one of the faces of the Saints.
Yeah, she went above and beyond, didn't she? And that's it's just like I said, it's gutting because she was the face of the club. You went in and she's just so happy to see you, and like it's like, oh, happy days, Christine, can I have this? Yeah, of course you can. And if you weren't able to go into the club, do you know what? I put them at one side. You don't rush in. You pick them up when you want.
And if I'm not wrong, which you probably get pulled for in this day and age, she probably said would have said, "Of course you can, love."
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You go into places now and people say that, and it's you can't do that. But that's knowing where you are. That's knowing, you know, your people who you're dealing with.
There's a story. One of my relatives come down from Cardiff when the stadium had first opened, and myself and my dad had done a bit of work on the ground. But anyway, we went in, and Christine said, "Oh, come in, Dave," and I told to my dad. My dad just went in. He said, "Oh, I'm not after buying anything." He said, "I've just come round with a family member just to show them around the ground." And Christine was like, "Well, who's showing them round?" My dad went, "I thought you would." And Christine went, "Of course I can. Give me 5 minutes and when we dinner, and I'll take you around." And that's literally just the character she was.
That is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And like you say, a massive loss certainly to her family, massive loss to the Saints as well, and everybody who you know, sort of came in touch with her when they were either in the, obviously buying the merchandise, etc. Because obviously that was another big thing that came along, which wasn't as prevalent back in the KR days, was it?
Well, when they did that, when they first opened that shop at Knowlesy Road, I can remember her being in there and it just being utter bedlam, because she'd always done the ticket office and we always knew that was her thing, and then all of a sudden we like knocked a wall down and put a studded partition up and called it a superstore. It was bedlam.
But no, she was a superstar.
We're going to miss her, aren't we?
A funeral's tomorrow, so hopefully she'll get, well, she'll definitely get a good send-off tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
She will. It'll be packed at St Teresa's. That's where my father was buried that there. So it'll be another occasion, like my father, if you remember, all the people stood outside, couldn't get in.
Massive, so no, she'll have a good send-off tomorrow.
She certainly will.
And I know Saints have closed both the ticket office and the merchandise shop. It's all closed, so everybody can go and pay the respects. And as you said, Paul, rightly so. And as you said, we send our condolences, and she will be sadly missed. Right, guys, obviously the ladies have made it through to Wembley again, up against Leeds, and I'm sure they'll be looking to try and get some sort of revenge. I must admit, I haven't watched as much of the ladies' game as we did sort of 18 months, 2 years back, but I watched the semi, and there's a lot of new faces coming in. And there's, so I was disappointed and I was concerned when a couple of the big names left, and Amy Hardcastle being one of those. And I thought, is it going to be deck of cards time where it's all going to crumble? But it hasn't, and the ones they've got in and some that they've had there have really stepped up to the plate. Ady, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, top class. I think against Lee Him from Wigan, she's a great player. When Shauna Oyler went, that was a disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think now they've been given the boost of, well, for a start, they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Which makes them feel that little bit, it's long overdue. But on the field, I thought the semi-final against York, they absolutely butchered York, 36-2 or 34-2 or something like that. I didn't get to the game on Friday against Wigan. I only finished work literally at 7:45, so I just got my arse down for the men's game against Catalan. But that's a great win for them going into Wembley, and I'm oddly confident that they can do a job for us. They're a great team. They're a great bunch of girls, and as we've said all along, Steve, that they've got a great connection to the fans. It's much more so than the guys have got. And like I say, it's just great. And they've never really got the credit, as we've always said, that we think that they deserve.
Yeah, it's been long overdue.
And let's hope they have another moment of glory down at Wembley.
Looking forward to that. Paul, I don't know whether you watch much of the women's game.
To be fair, mate, I don't watch as much as what I'd like to, only because what Ady just said then, like the kick-off time on like a Friday night, it's not really appealing to a lot of people, where I know the argument is like you had a Sunday afternoon game and that was kick-off at 12:30 and then the men's was 3 o'clock, you've had more chance of getting there, but I try and watch them if they're on TV, and I'll watch a few games, but for a 5 o'clock kick-off or whatever it is, I've got no chance of getting that on a Friday. But no, again, great success at the minute, and they're going to Wembley again, so you can't argue what they're doing. Obviously Matty Smith's doing a good job, isn't he, and the girls are obviously buying into what he's coming up with. So good luck to him on Saturday.
State Leeds at Wembley once again.
Yeah. Well, like Leeds, they're the same. This Saints team just keeps doing it, doesn't it? Just keeps getting to finals and competing for trophies, winning trophies. How many years now have they been up there competing for these top awards, top honours? So it's a credit to them, and even like you say, with a few names changing, they managed to adapt and still keep the show on the road, if you like. So I wish them obviously every success on Saturday. I hope they can bring it home again.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I mean, one of the games, well, two of the games, there was the game where they played Leeds at home and they won, which was a really good match, because I know Leeds are still one of the top teams, but the York match, because York, again, they were certainly a season ago, they were one of the ones where you had to watch out for, weren't they?
I think York will still be there at the top. York had a couple of injuries, and I know, like, if you take Tara Stanley out of that, because she's as good as any player in this country. She is stunningly good. But yeah, York were putting I think York was giving it some bifters in the press and on social media about Saints coming. York were great, and I think it got under the skin a bit of the girls, of our girls, and they went up there, and I give them I nearly swore then. Give them a damn good hiding. They walloped them good style, and I think, and there was an aggression in our girls' team.
Matty Leeds didn't have to do half of his job, did he? Because York coach did it for
Matty
him.
Smith even.
Yeah, Matty Smith.
They don't like York.
Yeah.
They don't like York at all.
Yeah, so all the best for the weekend. Enjoy the weekend and fetch that cup back home, and I'm sure they will. Right, moving on to obviously for what's going to carry on in the rest of June. We've got London away, Salford away, and then Cass at home. Ste, easy month really, isn't it?
Actually, you know what? Two of them, I would say, the bankers, the gimmies. London away. I mean, if they don't win that, something that is going horribly wrong. Cass at home, we saw how Cass capitulated in the game at the Jungle. I mean, I know Saints played well, but I think an amateur side would be disappointed to concede 52 points in a half against Saints, no matter anybody else, no matter the Super League team. So the big one in that trio of fixtures you mentioned is the Salford game away. That is going to be a test, because as we've seen before with Salford, the way they play the game, that is what we've been vulnerable to this year in terms of teams that get it wide quickly and have pace out on the wings and in the centres, and they've got that in abundance. So there could be a problem, especially on their own patch. So we'll need to be at our best defensively and to come up with, to carry on this what we've seen last couple of weeks of managed to put some points on ourselves, because we hadn't done that in the OKR game and the Warrington game. We give ourselves too much to do. So it's a bit of a banana skin, I think, that one. If we win any sort of win there, I think would be a massive result for us.
Ady?
Yeah, we've come unstuck a few times in recent years against Salford, haven't we? The London away one's bugged me a little bit, because I was really looking forward to going to Plough Lane, but they've moved it to the Stoop. I don't understand the mentality behind, firstly, the IMG thing with London. I think is pathetic, and now I don't know the reasons why it's being played at the Stoop.
Because they used to play there before, didn't they?
Played at the Stoop
years ago, yeah.
We've been down there a few times in the days when they were London Harlequins, if you like. But the setup they've got down at Plough Lane at Wimbledon, and it's like the opposite side. It's the other, you know what I mean? It's a good way round to the south, towards the southwest of London. But it looks good, and considering they're getting walloped week in, week out, they're getting a nice little fan base going. It's a lovely little stadium. Everything about Wimbledon looks, and then all of a sudden it's back at the Stoop. It's easier to get to the Stoop. It's only just off the A3, but I want to go Wimbledon.
You do. That's it, isn't it? When you visit, what's like in the Challenge Cup, and you get a team, that you've not played before, and it's where you think, oh great, so I want to go that ground. Don't get me wrong, it might be all, but you still want to go for the experience, don't you? Exactly.
And it's nice. And when you say about like Plough Lane and this, it's a famous old name. It's a famous old place that we got, and then obviously Wimbledon, when you've got the jolly hockey sticks, tennis players, and all that lot going on. But
I was thinking more Vinnie Jones myself.
Disappointed in not getting a run down there. Salford we could come unstuck at.
Because they're hot and cold, aren't they, Salford? When they're hot, they're absolutely on it, aren't they?
I think this week off will be a bit of a godsend for us. Give some tired bodies a bit of a rest. And then when we play Castleford, of course, we'll have our new carpet to play on. They've started putting our new pitch down the sea.
All right.
Pretty much as soon as the stadium...
The pitch looked a lot better on Friday, I thought.
Do you know what I said? When we got to the game and you just sit at the back of the North Stand, all the tractors and that 300 ton of sand or whatever it was all sat there waiting. And we get in the ground, and it's the best that pitch has looked for 2 years. It looked superb. But then
no festivals this year.
Well, I believe that again. I don't know how true it is, but £1.2 million for this new pitch that Liverpool Football Club are paying for.
For the women's team,
because the ladies are starting there next season. But it's supposed to be a Premier League football grade pitch. Whether that's any good for Rugby League or not, I've no idea. But then, literally, as we was going out the stadium after the Catalan game, the tractors were rolling in, and so when we come to play Castleford at home, they're going to have a £1.2 million pitch, and the irony is it probably still won't be as good as the pitch at Weldon Road.
We should beat Castleford in a swamp.
Of course we should. But I agree with Stevie there about the Salford away match.
Paul?
Yeah, exactly what the lads have just touched on then. You take the London one away, Cass at home, and then the tricky one's a Salford one. So it just depends what Salford turn up and what Saints team turn up.
Yeah.
Because we've had some very good success at Salford, haven't we, over the years, and also we've had some battering as well. So it's a mixed bag. When you go to Salford, you literally don't know what you get. So
I always enjoy it though, Paul.
I do like the Salford ground, mate.
We've said again this season when we were whinging and complaining about the lack of stuff to do at the Saints, and when we go to Salford, we always when you go early, we go early, and we'll always bump into him and his gang. That there is so much to do at that ground.
There's loads. You go to the fan zone.
It's one ground I've never been. I must admit.
There's tons and tons of parking spaces at the ground, like more parking space than you'd ever need. There's fairgrounds going on. There's music. There's live bands. There's hog roast. It's
big fan zone.
you know what it's similar to? You know, Craven Street at OKR that you see.
And this is the type of thing that annoys me.
It's similar to
why
that.
Why do people not know about that? Why isn't that being absolutely blasted?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Do you know what I mean?
Salford away is great, and there's so much going on. Where Craven Street is inside the ground, this is outside the ground. But there's probably a lot more than Craven Street, isn't there? Because it's a lot bigger space that they've got. There's tons going on.
Yeah. Obviously, the burning question is, burning in minds that you know, obviously, success of George Delaney and Noah Stevens. For that London game, does he look at blooding a few more of those, you know, lower down who are not getting a regular game?
Well, ordinarily I would have said he probably will, but the injury list concerns me. I mean, how many changes can we now afford to make with 5 or 6 influential players out? So that's a tough one. I'd like to see someone like, you know, we were saying before about Sam Royal. Someone like him should be getting game time there, I think, at London. I mean, I'm not one. I always complain about the way we play, send a kids team to London and get beat, but I think they can send a strong team and still make.
Is it Salford away the next one, or is it London next?
I think London's next. Then it's Salford. Then
London's on the 16th. So
you see, the problem with that is if you're resting people for the London game after they've had a week off for Wembley, they're then 2 weeks out of it, aren't they?
That's it. Yeah, they may not go that route.
I'd be looking at.
But to Steve's point, there are players that need game time. I think you would throw in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd look at like Percy, for example, mentioned him before. Do we need to play Mark Percival away at London?
We're talking about Davis there before.
You get Davis again, perhaps.
Yeah,
or even Johnny Vaughan.
Yeah, don't risk Mark Percival. Tommy Makinson, give Tommy a week off. Let him have 2 weeks just doing his training and letting his body heal.
He's got T. Ritson written all over it, right?
Yeah. And what you say about I mean, Paul's grimacing a little bit here, but I don't know.
Don't worry, Paul, it's London, right?
I disagree. I think we take full strength squad to London, absolutely batter them, get the ball in hand and score some tries,
and get a good point.
I can't argue with that philosophy.
There's an argument for that because of the points difference.
Because that
cost us last year. We ended up in third rather than top 2, didn't we?
Because that's something we don't do. We don't kill teams and absolutely put the foot on the pedal and just carry on.
When Wigan went there the other week, it was like they didn't take the foot off, did they? They piled the points on, didn't
they? And I suppose arguably if Wigan have done it, then we should do it.
Hopefully we've learnt off last year with the points difference, and this time we go there. Yes, if you've got players who aren't a 50-50, don't risk them. I'm not saying that, but you play your strongest team and go out for me and just absolutely put the foot down. But again, London's, they're not great, are they? But at the end of the day, they have got a performance in them. If we take an under-strength team there, we definitely don't want to be getting turned over either.
I've had 2 trips in the last few years. The last time they're in, I remember in one season going down there twice. Once, I think it was one of Wellesby's first matches, and we got beat. And then the second time we went down there, we got beat by a point.
I was there that second one.
That was at that god awful trail finders.
Oh goodness me, that's it. You're talking about bad places. Dear me.
That's it. You won't sleep for 3 weeks now. You do realise that.
That's what I haven't been back since.
What, to London?
To whole London, I haven't been south of Birmingham since. No, I think it's about, like Paul's right, it's important we get a win, and if possible maybe a big win, but I think we can afford to rest 1 or 2 and still get that. But I wouldn't be going like, I wouldn't send the academy team and drop the game and lose the game.
No, I agree. I mean there's one big name for me, and it's the same one as ever, it's Percy. He's that good and that valuable. Just, do we need him at London? Throw Ben Davis in there and still hopefully pile on the points.
Davis and Royal, I think maybe the 2 that I would put in there, and the rest are pretty much as you are now.
If they've got injuries, like I said, just in the 50-50, give them a break, but like they're getting a week off this week, so Saints normally don't back up well after a week off. Normally Saints play better when they're consistently.
Last time they give them a few days off, we went away to OKR and got pummeled, didn't we?
So it's Salford the week after London, is it? Yeah, that right?
So, well, yeah, I didn't know which way around it was, so it's going to be like London away, Salford away.
London's definitely next game on the 16th, but
Yeah.
Salford must be the weekend after that, and then Cass at the end of the month,
5th of June, I think, Cass. That's our next home match.
July.
July, yeah.
Sorry, 5th of July.
We'll have a new government by then. Oh God, let's not go into that.
No.
That's a different podcast.
We wouldn't
isn't
get beat by London under the Labour government.
it? Right, gents. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Or do you think we've covered a lot? Ady?
I think we've had a good dig there, haven't we? We've had a good dig. I hope it's not raining in Malta.
Apparently there's a game at the weekend, but probably won't watch that.
What's?
Yeah, Saints women.
Yeah, Saints women up against Leeds. Yeah, and if you get there late, you might just catch the Wigan Warrington game.
Yeah.
So
Minor squabble that it is.
Yeah,
Two good games, aren't they? The women's game and the men's game will be, I think, will be very good games.
Hopefully it's because a lot of the time, we build them up and they can fall flat. But I think Warrington certainly, what they've got in their arsenal this year, certainly from a speed point of view and size of Wembley. You talk like Matty Ashton, he could, sort of be a big game breaker. And I know they got French and Field on the other side, but he, from a pace point, if you're looking at a pace point of view, he can be.
Do you know what I think?
The difference this week, the pace, the size of the field. But like you said, they've both got pace.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to to interrupt Ady.
No, go on.
The way that Warrington, how many players they rested at weekends. Wigan had a handful, I know, rested, but there wasn't much in that game. I thought Wigan would turn them over by a massive score.
I did. I thought exactly
I thought so
that.
too.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the youngsters that they had in there. I mean, the lad at fullback, thought he was a real gem. Absolutely. I mean, and ironically, probably the worst player on the Warrington side who made most mistakes was Wrench, who we've sort of.
There was a different Wrench.
Oh, was it?
That was his younger brother.
Ah, there we are. Smaller Wrench.
Or was it? Oh no, it was was it the Thewlis?
Thewlis, yeah.
Thewlis.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
it's
the other
Thewlis,
brother.
yeah.
Do you know what? It was quite funny, wasn't it? Because that match at the weekend there, Warrington did what you'd expect Wigan to do, and Wigan did what you'd expect Warrington to do. Wigan went full strength, got an injury and got 2 players banned and nearly lost, and Warrington put their academy out and nearly won. What I think is going to be fascinating is they've got 2 equally impressive coaches, but for totally different reasons.
Yeah.
Sam Burgess, I am devastated, has been so impressive the way he comes across, the way he speaks, his calmness. And then when you listen to them players talk about Sam Burgess, he could potentially transform the whole culture at that club. And now all of a sudden you're seeing him piling academy players in. Everybody wants to do anything they can.
All the young
for
lads who
Sam
come in at the
Burgess.
weekend played well and put a marker down. But straight away, then it's like the next opportunity they get, it's hard to drop them.
Yeah.
The way Burgess has been with his young players, he's given them a chance. So fair play to him. I think it'll be interesting how they go about, because we're going to be very similar to like how we play. They'll go out with a game plan to kind of slow Warrington down, but I feel Warrington will come out with the tracks straight away, won't they, and try and play expansive rugby.
Because I think they did that to us, didn't they? They just blasted out of the park in that first.
They're going that well, Warrington, and don't forget this: they lost that superstar scrum half they had because Drinkwater couldn't get a game. What was his name? Was it
Hayes?
Leon Hayes.
Leon Hayes.
Yeah,
Leon
young
Hayes.
lad, yeah.
And they lost him, and they're still doing as
But
they
then,
are.
like you said then, Drinkwater comes back, and since Hayes' injury, Drinkwater's been very good.
I was going to say, he's not a bad player himself, Drinkwater.
Yeah.
And George Williams has been top level as well.
Yeah. I mean, Drinkwater, wherever he's been thereabouts, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's never led any club down that he's been at.
There's not many sides that I would favour over Wigan in a cup final, but I'd be going for Warrington for that.
They're going under the radar, Warrington.
I think Warrington are going to do them. I think Warrington are going to do a number on them.
I hope so.
Steve?
Yeah. I believe and hope the same, yeah. I think they will.
It's going to be interesting. Gentlemen, thanks very much indeed. Of course, Mr. Sunburn will be back in July, taking over the reins. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Got to say thanks to Ady. Thanks very much, mate.
Enjoyed it as always. Cheers, Steve. Thanks for doing your business, pal.
Yeah, no problem. Paul, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
And as I say, Steve, I've got a little bit of a treat here, because guess what I've dug out? I've dug this out.
Come on, my son! In at the corner! Tommy Martin! Thank you very much! Lick him and stick him! Oh, he's going to the screen! What's he going for? Dear me, he's trying to keep the score down!
We'll see you next month. Ta-da.